Whew. I think it's safe to say we're going to be chasing that dragon of the Florida game for quite some time.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K, and I am Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas. We are the AZ Wildcats pod, as I said, coming to you live from PHNX HQ3 here in downtown Phoenix. And Kevin Thomas, maybe I would have given a little bit more energy on the live off the top if it wasn't for the Arizona Wildcats making this one a little bit closer probably than it needed to be versus Utah Tech tonight. 93-67 final score. Pulled away at the end, showed a little bit more defensive intensity in that second half in particular, but definitely allowed more points than you would have liked in that first half. But like I said, the Wildcats get the job done. Big night for Brayden Burries, who seemingly bounced back after a poor debut against Florida. We'll be talking about Brayden Burries' performance all night long, as well as Koa Peat continuing to dominate, kind of doing exactly what Kevin put in his game plan, but also showing out in the process. And what a night for Tobe Awaka with his 18 rebounds. Kevin, another Arizona Wildcats W to talk about, another Arizona Wildcats W to celebrate. How are we feeling, my friend?
Feeling great. Dwayne Aristote got some run as well. As you said, he got a feed from Ivan Karchenkov. They made my soul leave my body.
That's all that matters.
I'm very, very happy because those are my guys, if you were there for our My Guys draft. But yes, 2-0 are the Arizona Wildcats and well on their way, hopefully, to being 3-0 as they got NAU coming up after this one. And Damon,
speaking of my guys, Kevin, if we're going to go ahead and do that off the jump, I believe we have 2 for 2 player of the games now that are in fact my guy. So why don't we just get it out of the way early? Screw it. If I'm just going there right now, king of the court, Tobe Awaka. Koa Peat against Florida. Tobe Awaka here tonight against Utah Tech in his 18 rebounds that he put up, including 8 offensive rebounds. Tobe Awaka is the best rebounder in the country as far as I'm concerned. And Kevin, he is, in fact, my guy.
He's your guy via the draft, but I think we all love Tobe Awaka. I mean, that man is an absolute monster on the boards. Good luck trying to get the ball out of Tobe Awaka's hands when you come down for a rebound. The man's a monster. He plays to the level that he needs to play to, it feels like, every time in terms of physicality and effort. Last game against Florida, it did result in some turnovers and some fouls. But this game against Utah Tech, it was dominance from one Tobe Awaka. He is our king of the court, as you mentioned, Damon, and very happy to report Tobe Awaka currently leads king of the court counts for the season if you count the preseason, because we have, two Tobes, a Koa Peat mixed in there as well. As Wesley Schwartz puts it in the chat, Awaka was, in fact, a beast.
Maybe that's what we should be tallying all season long is how many player of the game awards. But to be fair, Kevin, you did choose 2 freshmen with your early picks that weren't named Koa Peat and Brayden Burries.
Correct.
And that did put you a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of, picking up a bunch of big W's in the king of the court side of things. But you picked your guys. And like you said, you got to see a absolutely spiritual experience tonight in the form of Ivan Karchenkov from the logo to Dwayne Aristote down low. One
more thing about Tobe Awaka, I just noticed. Did you guys know Tobe Awaka had 18 rebounds in this game? 19 minutes. About a rebound per minute for Tobe Awaka. An incredibly impressive performance. I did want to mention that it felt like this is like Tobe Awaka when he is out there at his best. Obviously, it is a Utah Tech opponent. But what else are you going to expect with a guy the size and capability and the strength of one Tobe Awaka? Very good performance.
I agree with P. Alberto Sanchez here in the chat. Awaka was I won't say the only, but I do think by far the main reason why Arizona pulled away in the end. And he has a tendency to do that, right? Like his rebounds are so impactful at the highest level possible. A lot of the time you'll see Tobe Awaka and he'll be there will be these runs, right, where all of a sudden, it just feels like he's getting offensive rebound after offensive rebound. And they truly are pivotal. It's the Oregon game, in the tournament is probably the most stark example of that. But we did see it again here tonight. And I tweeted this as well, Kevin, but it just seems like Tobe Awaka more than almost anybody on this roster. Maybe Koa Peat as well, because I do feel like I see this a lot from Koa Peat. But it feels like Tobe Awaka knows how to handle a mismatch about as good as anybody on this roster. If he's going up against a big man that he doesn't think can handle him, he just puts him under the basket and finishes. It's that easy. It's that simple. And it's not even just guys when he has like a smaller guard on him. It's more so like when he has a center or a big on him that he's just like, you kidding me? This Utah Tech guy, you think this guy can guard me one-on-one? Okay, well, watch what is about to happen. And I think Tobe Awaka just handles mismatches so beautifully, Kevin, and maybe Koa Peat is the only other guy on this team that does so in a similar fashion.
I think it's a very good observation for you as well, right? Because Tobe Awaka is a guy.
Once in a while.
David, he kind of knows ball, guys. This Damon Fairall guy, he kind of knows ball. But what I was saying about Tobe Awaka, and to your point, it feels like he handles business. It feels like Tobe Awaka knows how to be successful on the court within his role. He's not really trying to do too much, and it feels like when he is catching himself doing too much, he knows how to tone it back, right? We talked about how against Florida there were a couple ambitious passes where he made the right read but didn't have quite the accuracy to make it, not doing any of that silly stuff against Utah Tech, just going out there, being a brute, being a big body, and getting it done on both ends. And I think this kind of segues us into, well, you know what? Let's continue rolling with this Utah Tech W, because I don't want to, get too critical just yet. This is the first time, Damon, since 1973, 1974, that Arizona has scored 90-plus points in consecutive games to open a season. The offense is absolutely rolling. I also think there's a little bit of a coincidence here. When you look at Arizona's schedule, they put up how many points against Florida, Damon? 93. And if you look to the top of my head,
I was going to say, I feel like it's 93.
They put up 93 tonight. They let up 87 points against Florida, 67 points against Utah Tech. And honestly, I like a little bit of coincidence. I like a little bit of coincidental numbers, and you have 93s in both games with your opponent's numbers ending in a 7. Pretty cool stuff there. But I say all that to say the offense is rolling to start the season. Damon, we talked a little bit about on the podcast recently after the Florida game about, are we concerned with the lack of three-point shooting? Are we concerned with the lack of volume of which Arizona is shooting it? And I am here to tell you I am not concerned with the volume of threes that Arizona is shooting. 58 points in the paint tonight. You damn near outscored Utah Tech with just paint points. It feels like this is a method for victory that Arizona can rely on. It feels like this is somewhat of an identity for Arizona this year, being able to beat the hell out of teams down low in the restricted area, get paint touches that result in easy looks for your more skilled guys like ADO, Yvonne, and so on and so forth. 7 for 15 from 3 tonight, shooting 47%. I think that's pretty good, if you ask me, considering there were a couple shots in there that I think could have fallen as well for the Wildcats. So where are you at overall with the offense, Damon, and how are you feeling after a night like tonight where it could have looked a lot better for the Wildcats at points, but overall you still put up 90-plus points at home?
In regards to the paint points, I say welcome to Koa Peat basketball, because I expect this with Koa Peat every night in and every night out. I mean, tonight Koa Peat went 6 of 7. I'll say it again, 6 of 7, and I don't mean it in the corny, stupid TikTok Gen Z or joke way as Kevin is doing. I mean it in the way of, this man missed one shot all night long. And then he went 6 for 8 from the free throw line, which I will continue to say 8 free throw attempts per game for Koa Peat, 10 free throw attempts per game for Koa Peat. I want to see that consistently be the case, because as we saw in this game again, when he gets the ball down low, it feels like he's either finishing through contact because he's too physical and he's too athletic for people to handle, or you're going to need to foul him so hard that it's clear as day it's a foul. And we saw that a lot tonight. We saw that against Florida as well. Koa Peat didn't need to unload the entire tank tonight. And, thankfully so, Kevin, because you were hammering the drum for some rest for Koa Peat, only 28 minutes, which I do think is pretty solid. Like that's pretty clear from Tommy Lloyd that, he didn't feel he needed Koa Peat in the most massive way possible, because 37 minutes versus Florida on night one, right? That's a big difference. But yeah, paint points going to be huge all season. Going to be huge for a guy like Matevas Krivas to get going and score a few more points than he did tonight. Although it did look like maybe he was waking up a little bit at the end. But yeah, he's going to need to get going. But Tobe Awaka and Koa Peat were definitely the driving factors in a W tonight. And I liked what I saw on offense from those guys in particular, as well as Anthony Dell'Orso. Let's talk a little bit about Delly, because I thought this was a really, really good Delly game, Kevin. 18 points, 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, and 4 assists to boot. What did you see from Arizona's sharpshooter in this pretty big game versus Utah Tech tonight?
I said it against Florida on Twitter, even though some people were not nearly as convinced. Anthony Dell'Orso is an improved basketball player. Confirmed. He is better at basketball this year than he was last year.
He does
flat
look good.
out.
Yeah.
He's stronger. He's more capable on both ends. And you know what? He's more confident, which is kind of crazy to say for a guy like ADO, who I feel like is always really confident, always supremely believing in his own abilities. But it feels like now when he gets the ball, there's an array of decisions that he decides if he wants to make or not. It feels like the drives he's been making looks a lot better. His dribble pull-ups have looked a lot better, although the one that he faded on tonight, as you mentioned live when we were watching, didn't really hit for him. I like that shot for him still. I'm really, really happy with where ADO's game is at, where Delly's game is at, for those that know him, for those that friend of the program, Anthony Dell'Orso. But yeah, 18 points, 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, 4 assists for Delly as well. I think that kind of goes under the radar with his improvement, the ability to actually use your gravity for other people to create opportunities. And I think that, as Carl in the chat says, Delly bringing the slices this year. He's definitely been a lot improved, and I'm glad to see that. Against a team like Utah Tech, that's kind of where you want to see Delly absolutely ball out. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the capability to do it in the Big 12 or even in some of these tougher non-con games, but you really want to see the shots fall against a team where the shots should fall. And it feels like Dell'Orso is a guy that steps up in these games where he's supposed to step up. And tonight was a good example of that. A big 18-point performance, tied for the lead. A 3-way tie for leading the team in points with Burries and Peat tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah, very balanced tonight from an Arizona scoring perspective. But I agree with you in the way that I think that Dell'Orso can definitely, take a lot of the slack off of a guy like Koa Peat in a night like tonight, where if he can just give you points versus inferior competition, then maybe your star players don't have to go full 100% effort, balls to the wall to get the W. And that's a good thing, because Arizona, has UCLA on Friday of next week. And, obviously that game is a big game, especially after last year's disaster and the way that ended. It feels like you almost can't lose that game this year. So yeah, it's good to see that we don't have to, really, try to our fullest extent against a team like Utah Tech, but that's also not necessarily the most mind-blowing of things in the world either. That's how it should be if you're a good and competitive Arizona basketball team. And to be fair, it wasn't exactly like that for a good portion of the night, Kevin. So why don't we get into maybe some of the negatives that we saw tonight and why this one kept close for a good portion of that first half into the first half of that second half, which is a little bit of a tongue twister. But we'll get into that and more after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod. Don't go anywhere.
But if you have been in a serious accident or you have had some sort of serious injury, the husband and wife law team are the only law firm that you should be making the call to. And if you are going to make the call, it's to 602-783-8841. I'll bring that number back around here at the end of this read. But like I said, if you've been involved in a serious accident or you have a serious injury, do your research to make sure the lawyer you hire is doing the best job for you. And if you do your proper research, you'll probably find out that in Arizona, the state bar has certified less than 1% of all lawyers as specialists in injury and wrongful death litigation.
How many?
That is a big deal. Only 1% of all lawyers certified by the Arizona State Bar have a specialty in injury and wrongful death litigation. Those two down there, yeah.
Mark and Alexis, they have that.
Oh, yeah, they're specialists. These two. They're specialists in serious injury and wrongful death litigation. That is why you absolutely need to go to the Husband and Wife Law Team, because the practice is 100% dedicated to injury and wrongful death. Experienced and specialized and equipped with the expertise to handle every aspect of your case. So if you have had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841. Make sure to write that number down. It's at the bottom of your screen as well. Or visit their website at husbandandwifelawteam.com.
Love our new partners with the Husband and Wife Law Team, and love our friends, of course, over at Game Time, the only place that I'm buying tickets when it comes to college football, when it comes to college basketball, you name it. Game Time has it, guys, especially when it comes to University of Arizona tickets. It is my go-to because it's real simple, Kevin. Game Time offers the lowest price guaranteed when it comes to your tickets for your given event, whether that's a comedy show, whether that's a musical, a sporting event, a concert, any of the above. Game Time is selling tickets for it, and they also have the single best interface in all of ticketing apps. That's not even a discussion. Kevin, you know that to be a very true fact. We all have all these ticketing apps, right? And they all stink, except for Game Time. It works easy. It's nice and smooth. I'm not delayed when I'm clicking on buttons, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in the entire world. I was just yelling about another app that we will keep unnamed to Kevin earlier today. That is a fact. Game Time has never given me that trouble. They give you their all-in ticketing prices, so you don't have to see what the fees are when they're in your shopping cart already, and you're not surprised by some willy-nilly fees that throw you off at the end. And of course, they have that Game Time Picks feature, which kind of helps filter out the mess and gives you what is the best ticket prices for the seats that you could find. Kevin, we love the Game Time app. It's the only place to buy Arizona Wildcats tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code PHNX for $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app. Kevin, what time is it?
Game time! Ho, ho, ho! And before we get to some of our growing pains that we want to talk about on today's podcast, we do have a super chat from P. Alberto Sanchez in the chat.
Our favorite Utah Tech fan. I mean, it seems, does it not?
It's the Utah Tech, you know.
He literally might be the Utah Tech fan.
Yes.
This is special that what we have in this chat right now. We have legitimate royalty, college athletics royalty in the chat. P. Alberto Sanchez, $4.99. Utah Tech will beat ASU on Sunday. Book it. Book it. And we're painting our fingernails in the process. I love it, P. Alberto Sanchez. I love that energy. Of course. If they do, you know me and my guy Kevin will be getting some jokes off. So, P. Alberto Sanchez, if you have a Twitter or social media account, you got to give me and Kevin a follow, because I would follow you back, sir. I need to know what's going on in the world of Dixie State / Utah Tech, as we call it these days. Stand up. But appreciate everybody who's in this chat right now. So much fun to talk basketball, talk Arizona athletics with you all. Please leave a like on this video. Means so much to me and Kevin. But Kevin, let's get into maybe some of the things that we would like to see from an improvement standpoint from Arizona basketball tonight, because it wasn't all pretty, right? Like, as much as Arizona ended up getting the easy W, started kind of pouring it on as of late, and made me kind of sweat out my cover, which of course didn't end up hitting. Anyways,
I didn't even get to the point of breaking up a sweat, Damon.
No,
I didn't even get that luxury.
No, but it you know, they made me think for a second. They gave me hope, and then my hopes and dreams got crushed right in front of me. Speaking of, how's the Houston game looking?
While you look that up,
Kevin and I both picked Houston in our best bets this week, so it kind of means everything.
It does. It does.
But yeah, I mean, it was not a completely pretty and seamless performance from an Arizona standpoint. There was a lot of things that probably need to be fixed up, including a lot of defensive things, right? Especially in that first half. Kevin, what was maybe the number one thing, if you had to boil it down to one thing to change? I know there's more than one, but if you're Tommy Lloyd and you're saying, what are we focusing on in tomorrow's practice, what would it be?
It's a great question. You know, I didn't think you'd frame it in that exact way as I was sitting here kind of cooking it up.
Gun to your head, sir.
If I was Tommy Lloyd, I think that I would be most Yeah, I think I'd be most concerned about the way that we start games. I mean, even if I was Tommy Lloyd, I think I would give the team some grace of understanding that it's a pretty young team and you just beat the defending national champions in Vegas. That's going to be a celebrated victory. You come home, you're playing Utah Tech. Sorry, Alberto Sanchez, but that's not really a team that's going to get the guys probably excited to go out there and really play their hardest just a couple days after you had the biggest win up to that point that you had as an Arizona Wildcat. And I think that even though you did have that, it is disappointing that you led up 37 to Utah Tech in the first half. It is disappointing that, players like Brayden Burries are still getting blown by on defense against the guards of Utah Tech, who are definitely worse than every guard he's going to see in the Big 12. So that's got to get cleaned up. So I just think overall, starting games, the way you finish games is important, and Arizona's got to iron that down. But I don't think there's anything too glaring of a problem right now with Arizona basketball. If we do want to, find some stuff to talk about in terms of growing pains, and that's exactly what I think they are. If we're going to complain about this stuff, I think it's important that we kind of frame it in reality, pardon me, and I think what Arizona is trying to accomplish this year, what they have the potential to accomplish this year, there's going to be growing pains along the way. And I think part of these growing pains is finding consistency for certain players. And in terms of that conversation, I want to start with Matías Krivas, because this was a game that I kind of earmarked for him as a real opportunity. He played well against Florida. He really impressed some people against Florida, and I thought he would follow it up, honestly, with a Tobe Awaka-like performance.
Yeah.
With a performance where you're sitting down with what did Tobe Awaka sit down? With 5.5 minutes left in the game, he's sitting down for the night. He's done. Goes home to a standing ovation from the fans because he just put in a bunch of boards. And I know Matías Krivas is capable of that because in the preseason he put up 17 in a game. So I was kind of surprised to not see him kind of dominate Utah Tech in the way that I expected him to. I'm really trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I will continue to do that for as long as humanly possible. But yeah, the slowness of his feet at times, and just the overall being 7'2" but playing like he's 6'2" at times, it's a little frustrating with Mo Krivas. But I think he's going to be a player that is kind of up and down in some of these matchups this year. I just didn't think that this would be a game that he was, what did he put up? 6 points, 4 rebounds, 5 personal fouls. He fouls out tonight. Yeah, not the best game for Matías Krivas in a game that I thought would look pretty easy for him.
Yeah, I did think you're right, Kevin. Let's give credit where credit's due. I thought he played pretty well against Florida in a tough matchup.
Yeah.
When you needed him, when Tobe Awaka was struggling and needed to sit because he was in foul trouble. And now the shoe was kind of on the other foot tonight, except the word need is a lot less mandatory, right? Because you're playing Utah Tech instead of Florida. Sorry, Alberto Sanchez. But I do think that when you're discussing Mo Krivas, it's this is the type of performance where you want to see him do what he did on that one particular play when he caught that pocket pass, I believe, from Brayden Burries, right? And then he just kind of immediately rose up, took it to the basket, and dunked, dare I say, Henry Vasar style. He caught a pocket pass from the free throw line and elevated immediately. And I think that's what Arizona fans want to see from Mo Krivas is, dude, be bigger than everybody else. Catch the ball and be unstoppable to the point where the only way that they can stop that dunk is by fouling you, right? And we don't see that nearly enough out of Krivas, where it feels like if you give any contest on his shots, it's most likely not going to go in. Sometimes you don't even need to contest it. You just need to have a body down below, and he'll find some way to get it to roll in and out. And I don't want to be hard on this guy, and I feel like all season long there's going to be a section of this fan base that is like, Krivas sucks, he's the worst, get him off the court. And the other half is going to be like, Damon and Kevin, how could you guys be so mean to sweet baby Krivas? He's been playing so good all season long.
Yeah.
And it's like, the answer is definitely going to be somewhere in that middle for sure. But tonight is definitely a lot more of, we need more than what we saw from Mo Krivas tonight.
And you know what? And you bring up the timing of it. I'll go one step further. And this is nothing to do with Mo Krivas, but this is in the vein of the fan reaction that you were just talking about, the two camps within this fan base of, Krivas has real talent. Give him time. He's dominant. You just got to look at it. You just got to put on 3 different sets of glasses, and then you can see it too. And then there's also
you got to spin around, close your eyes for 10 seconds with a blindfold, take it off, and all of a sudden it looks great.
And then you turn on the TV once you've spun around 3 times, and you're looking at a different TV, no longer the Arizona game, and it's the UNC-Kansas game, and Henry Vassar is looking like an unstoppable monster, to be quite honest with you. So not a very good night for those Matthias Krivas faithful out there, but don't sell your stock just yet. There's still time. But Damon, like you said, it's the timing of it. UNC
Saul's guy, by the way.
You should have. Never mind. But Saul's guy. That is definitely Saul's guy. Matthias Krivas. All in.
All season long. That's your boy, right?
Your boy. But yeah, Damon, Matthias Krivas. Like in terms of an actual basketball thing. The reason I think some fans want to talk about the Vassar of it all is because Vassar's impact is pretty loud. It really is loud. He has some moments where he's not perfect. He's also not perfect. There were moments last year that frustrated us with Henry Vassar as well.
I mean, he does like the Bambi thing where he looks a little awkward from time to time. But you're right, Kevin. Like his big plays are massive.
You remember them.
He hits the 3 against Kansas tonight, and he's screaming, hitting his arm. The crowd at Chapel Hill is going nuts, and you're sitting there.
I'm sitting there crying because I have Kansas money line, and it looked so good at the half.
I'm sitting there crying because I'm like, what happened to my sweet, sweet Henry? I rode for this guy all season long, Kevin, like no one else did, and then he just gets up and leaves us.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it seems like there's been a bit of a narrative of Krivas versus Vassar because of a sense of like that. Maybe Tommy chose his guy in Matthias Krivas over a Henry Vassar. And Mike Luke kind of put that to bed tonight, and his sources usually check out. Like it seems like Vassar had a different view of himself as a player, and that he didn't want to play in this center big man role for Tommy Lloyd anymore. And maybe that's the truth, but my God, am I not going to be thinking about potentially what could be with that guy who's leading the way for one of the biggest programs in college basketball? And it really, like, to my knowledge, it's kind of like the first guy who's ever left Arizona. Like, who leaves Arizona?
KJ Lewis.
Yeah, but come on, dude. Like,
I'm just
me
saying.
And you love KJ
Conrad
Lewis.
Martinez.
Me and you both love KJ Lewis, but I think it was pretty clear, like, hey, KJ, you can come back, but you're going to be off the bench again as a junior.
Off the bench, probably getting paid a little bit less.
And do you want to be your third year of college basketball off the bench? Probably not. You want a bigger role than that. So good luck to you. We wish you the best. I think with Henry Vassar, very clearly you would have wanted him back. But it seems like he got a big pay raise. He got a role increase. And that hardly ever happens at Arizona. And let me just say, it feels bad. It feels really bad. I hate it. I hate this feeling. I know what it feels like for football. That's why Noah and T-Mac are so special to us, because it's like, thank God they didn't leave us. Now I know what it feels like for basketball, and I hate it. And
I'm all the way with you on that. But unfortunately, we do not have Henry Vassar. I had some people on Twitter when I tweeted out today, like, big games for former Arizona Wildcats. KJ Lewis taking on Maryland in a rivalry game that's being revived for the first time in a decade or decades or whatever. And then I'm like, also Henry Vassar versus KU at home, kind of a massive game. And some people were like, not on our team, don't care anymore. And I'm like, well, I guess you only literally watch Arizona basketball games, which is okay. But that's not everybody. Henry Vassar is still a notable player. But in terms of what is for this Arizona basketball team, it is Matthias Krivas down the middle for this Arizona basketball team. Whether it's Krivas in the last 5 or whether it's Awaka, I still think Krivas gives you a lot of versatility in some ways that obviously we can compare and contrast how much versatility Krivas and Vassar give you, but you don't have Vassar and you do have Krivas. And I think when you have Koa Peat, when you have Tobe Awaka, when you have so many different Houston?
That's H-Town.
Houston?
That's Houston football. We won by 3. The best team ever.
Let's go. That's actually massive.
Houston beats UCF by 3 on the road. UCF loses their first ever space game. And Damon and Kevin move on to 1-0 in their best bets of the weekend. Sorry to cut you off there, Kevin.
No,
I
do
think this is a good discussion, but that was very important. We needed, after U of A didn't cover, we very, very much needed a Houston W there.
Like air to breathe, man.
But as you were saying about Mativas Krivas and his versatility that he brings to Arizona.
He does give you a lot of rim protection. He does give you a lot of size just in general. I think that can't be taught. It can't be bought. It can't be gotten in the transfer portal for the most part. Size of that, like legitimacy, is very rare. So I do think Mativas Krivas offers a lot of unique positives to this team. It's about using them in a way you have to kind of cater it a little bit more with Mativas Krivas, and that's okay. We're going to see times of this year where it looks great. We're going to see times this year where people on Twitter are talking about him moving with cement in his shoes and stuff like that. Tonight was one of the latter, and I think that's okay because he played really well against Florida when he needed him. So ultimately, until next time with Mativas Krivas, we will do another temperature check. But speaking of temperature checks, Damon, and we're speaking of growing pains, I wanted to talk a little bit of Brayden Burries here after our next break because he's a freshman, and he looked like one against Florida, but he did not necessarily look like one against Utah Tech. So we're going to break all that down and more here on the AZ Wildcats podcast after our second and final break on tonight's show. You know the name. You know how to play the games over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where you do you. And if you do want to play some games, I'm getting choked up talking about Gila River. They have over 4,500 slots and live table games. Catch all the action at any of their sports books as well. That's where I watched Hamzat just lay on top of DDP for about an hour and a half. That's where I did it, but it was a pretty boring fight. But it was not boring at Gila River Resorts and Casinos because I was having a very good time with my girlfriend out there. And if you want to take your significant other out there, it's the perfect spot because you can do high class, make them feel like you are James Bond riding high. Do you like your espresso martini shaken or stirred? Oh, because you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Shaken, stirred does not matter. Whether you want beer at a more affordable bar, you can do that as well.
Pinky's out.
Pinky's out. Comedy shows, live concerts, live podcasts, PHNX fantasy football drafts once a year. Gila Rivers is the place to be, whether it's Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, Bee Kiva, or Santan Mountain. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
Gila River Resorts and Casinos, you do you. And also, Kevin, you know the name, you know the game. It's branded Bills. I wear it every day on this show. And of course, they are our presenting sponsor, because they give you the ultimate custom premium headwear and apparel in the game. Promo code BBPHNX, 15% off your first order. Guys, go check out that campus collection right now if you haven't done so already. They have the absolute best Arizona Wildcats hats in the game, hands down. And when it comes to comfort, Kevin, there's also nothing like it. Branded Bills hats are significantly more comfortable than any other hat on the market. And of course, they're coming out with brand new U of A designs on a weekly basis. I'm being dead serious when I say that too. Every time I check out Branded Bills' website, they have new Arizona Wildcats styles that they're going with, that they're creating. And they're even asking people like me and Kevin, fans like you guys, what types of styles you're looking to see as Arizona Wildcats fans that they don't have yet. That's what's so great about Branded Bills. They got anything and everything in the works, and you guys need to check out that campus collection today if you haven't done so already. So head on over to brandedbills.com, use promo code BBPHNX, and get 15% off that first order. That's BBPHNX, 15% off that first order.
Absolutely beautiful headwear over with our friends over at Branded Bills. Do have some comments I want to address here. We did have Galvatron bringing up the Kylan Boswell, I believe, double-double performance tonight for Illinois as we're doing some former Wildcat watching. Carl Schroeder was also wanting to know if Ballo counts to you as a Wildcat that left. Also Stevens as well. I feel like Ballo went out for the bag, right?
I think he did. And
it also, sorry to cut you off, but it also feels like he maximized what he could have been at Arizona. And that was almost like a, let's unclip your wings and let you fly, Umar Ballo.
I think that was definitely, from what I hear on Umar Ballo was essentially offered a lot of money by Indiana and other teams, and he came to Arizona and was like, "Hey, can we do something about my money that I'm making here?" And I believe he wanted to stay in Arizona. Essentially, was like, "You know what? That's a lot of money. Go get your bag, kid. We'll be fine." And I think that that's fair. To your point, like it felt like he was somewhat maximized at Arizona, and from the Ballo perspective, like he's not an NBA player, so it's like, dude, go get as much money as Indiana Hoosiers basketball is willing to pay you, because I'm sure that check runs pretty deep.
Yeah.
When we're talking checks. Yeah. So go get your bag, son. And no disrespect will be taken over here, but when it comes to players that Arizona did invest into, they invested heavily into freshmen this year, Kevin. We talked a lot about Koa Peat. We talked about how Koa Peat, didn't really necessarily need to have the Florida performance tonight, but it felt like he could have given it to you if he wanted to, right? Like easily, no doubt about it. We talk about, Ivan Karchenkov a lot last week, not as much tonight, a little bit quieter tonight, 2 points, but did get the start again and did, which is important, I think, and did look comfortable out there. I never thought Ivan Karchenkov was looking like he was like debilitating the team or looked lost. It just wasn't the loudest night for him. Dwayne Aristode still looks raw, took it coast to coast, like showed you a little bit of what you wanted to see from Dwayne Aristode in terms of flashes. Brayden Burries had a bad game versus Florida, and then he came out and tied for the scoring lead on the team tonight. Now, I think both of you and I, Kevin, have some questions as to his defense and his capabilities on that end of the floor, because he is getting beat off the dribble by guys on Utah Tech, and that's not necessarily going to bode well for success against the athleticism that he's going to face in the Big 12. But I'll be damned if the offense didn't look pretty damn good tonight.
The potential of Brayden Burries is the ceiling. Well, and the ceiling is the roof. The potential is sky high is whatever I'm trying to say about Brayden Burries, because you mentioned the defense. If he can become a more serviceable defender on that end, and he can match it with his high-level offense, he is a true 3-level scorer. I know people might disagree with that on some certain platforms, but Brayden Burries can shoot the 3 reliably. I trust his mid-range game, and he's great at crashing to the hoop. Those are 3 levels. And I think Brayden Burries, if he can match that with some at least, on par defense for the Big 12, he's going to be very dangerous. But he is just a freshman. And defense is the hardest thing for freshmen to get down with. Also, guards. It's way easier to be a post defender as a freshman. Everything is in front of you. No one's behind you. You're not getting ran around at the perimeter constantly on stagger screens, on down screens. You're not they're not trying to get the shooter involved because you're not guarding the shooter. It's a lot easier for a guy like Koa Peat to be better on defense than a guy like Brayden Burries. I'm not trying to say Koa Peat's job is easy, but what I'm saying is in terms of adjusting to the game, if you're not there where Koa Peat is at, if you're more where Brayden Burries is at in terms of readiness for the Big 12, it's a lot harder to make that acclimation. And I'm giving him time on that. I think he has specifically the physical capabilities. I think he has all the physical capabilities to be a very serviceable defender, Damon.
I might push back on that. I think that there's a chance that he doesn't.
At the college level?
I think serviceable, yes, but good,
I'm not talking like Kawhi.
But good, I kind of don't know if that's in the cards.
What's Brayden Burries?
If you're getting beat off the dribble against Utah Tech, I have serious concerns about your lateral ability. I really, really do. And I think that from an athleticism standpoint, like there's a reason that he isn't considered to be that upper echelon NBA draft prospect, and it's not because the 6'5" guy who can score at every level is not a desirable asset in the NBA. It's because who also has ball handling capabilities. It's because I don't think that he has the peak athleticism of what an NBA type of guard looks like. So I am a little bit concerned about that, the physical ability on the defensive end. I'm not going to lie.
I get you. I think he's bulky enough, and I do think he's athletic enough. Right now, I think it's for him, and well, I guess for me, for him, it's his defensive positioning. Like I think he's totally athletic enough to stay with his guys, but he doesn't know where to be. Like that example of him getting blown by for the dunk that Owona had, and it was a highlight dunk for Utah Tech. Shout out to Alberto Sanchez. I'm sure that is in the highlight reel for certain. But it's not that he couldn't stay with his guy. It's that his guy was given every opportunity and all the space he needed to just simply run around him and go past him. He wasn't in a position to make one slide and maintain or get on a guy's hip and stay in his pocket as he rides him to the restricted area. He was just blown by. Right? Against Florida, it's not like he's too weak to get through the screens. He's just getting blindsided by the screens as they come down on him. He doesn't know that they're there until he's in the guy's chest. And so I feel like for Brayden Burries, it's more of the X's and O's. Like it's more of the understanding of the positioning he needs to have to utilize his athleticism. I'm not trying to say he's BJ Edgecombe. athletically, but I do think he's good enough to get by for certain. And I do think that he's a good enough athlete to be a good defender at the college level at the very minimum, at the very least.
I think he's a good enough defender to be good on defense against Utah Tech.
Oh yeah.
I worry if he's athletic enough to be a good defender against Big 12 guards, which to our, understanding last season in our 1 year in the Big 12, that's serious business. The Milos Uzans, the Darren Petersons of the world, that they're not going to take it easy on you when you're Brayden Burries and you're having to guard those guys, especially late in games. If he gets switched on to them, that could spell bad news for Arizona, and that's definitely something that we're gonna have to monitor. Because I listen, 6'5" playing guard, 6'4" playing guard in college. He's got plenty of size.
That's what, yeah.
I think Brayden Burries has a lot of strength for his position as well. I think that strength, body control, ability to finish at the rim and work through that contact, he proves that, right? That stuff I'm not concerned about. I'm concerned about him staying in front of guys and utilizing his ability to use his strength on them, right? Because I think if he can stay in front of them, he can chest him up, and that's going to create a lot of issues for these guards because he's going to be stronger than a lot of them. He has physical tools that they don't have. But yeah, I need to see a little bit more lateral ability out of Brayden Burries, and I just don't want to be in a spot where we're looking at Brayden Burries and being like, do we need to get him out of games late in games because he's being targeted on defense and being hunted by opposing teams? Because in the Big 12, guys like Kelvin Sampson and Bill Self and coaches that are elite upper echelon coaches, they will go after him in those late situations. And as much as Arizona wasn't necessarily spectacularly talented for a Tommy Lloyd for an Arizona team last year, they didn't really have a ton of mismatches to go at the end of games because Dell'Orso, guys like Dell'Orso were on the bench at the end of games. You'd have Vasar who could switch and Tobe Awaka who could switch and even Trey Townsend was giving you a lot of effort on defense. Carter Bryant playing pretty good defense at certain points, and we know Jaden Bradley and Caleb Love are bringing it. So I think that this year, KJ Lewis of course as well. I think this year presents maybe a few more challenges from the defensive perspective late in games that maybe we didn't experience last year, Kevin. I don't know how you feel about that take.
Honestly, ever since you mentioned Darren Peterson's name, the idea of Jaden Bradley guarding Darren Peterson has totally blocked out all of my audio receptors, Damon, and I have not been able to think of anything else you said.
Well, Jaden Bradley, listen, that's the premier matchup in college in the Big 12 basketball this season. But what I don't want to see is Brayden Burries matched up on Darren Peterson with essentially the game on the line.
Yes.
That sounds like it would be bad news. But I do believe we are close to having some sound from tonight, which will be cool to hear from the guys post-game. I believe Tommy Lloyd as well as Anthony Dell'Orso, and we'll hear from them very, very shortly here.
Sorry to cut you off, but I did want to wrap up the Brayden Burries conversation a little bit by talking about his first half, second half stats, Damon, because you and I were having a conversation off air before the show when we were trying to decide our headline for this podcast. We were trying to figure out and I was pretty much arguing with you over semantics, right? You were saying Brayden Burries answers the call against Utah Tech after Florida win or something along those lines. And I said, did he really have, he might have picked up the phone, but did he say hello? Did he have any kind of conversation with you? Or was it just you kind of being like, Brayden, hello? No, yeah, you're there. I see the clock ticking and no voicemail. You're on the phone. In the first half, Brayden Burries had 5 points on 2 for 7, 1 for 3 from 3, 2 assists, 2 fouls, 4 turnovers, 2 steals, though, in 19 minutes. And in the second half, this is more the Brayden Burries we expected in the first half. 13 points, about over 50% shooting, really good efficiency from 3, an assist, 2 steals, no turnovers, incredibly efficient stuff in just 13 minutes. Damon, does it at all alarm you that Brayden Burries had such a bad first half against Utah Tech and that his overall game against Florida was not very good? Are you at all concerned with Brayden Burries, or did that second half really breathe some belief into you?
Yeah, I think those second half numbers those are special. And listen, I think he had the 4 turnovers as well. That is, I think, for me, the biggest number. I don't care about missed shots. I don't. They're going to happen. Brayden Burries is going to have a lot of volume on this team. There's going to be plenty of nights where he's probably not shooting the best, right? But what I do care about is turning the ball over recklessly, and it felt like he was doing that at times, but he did clean it up. And it did feel like when this team locked in a little bit more defensively as well, he got a couple steals right in a row, and I think in back-to-back possessions in the second half, and that was good to see as well. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that there's obviously a lot to clean up from a Brayden Burries standpoint, but tonight was encouraging from the Brayden Burries side of things, just making you feel like, cool, we're seeing some improvement, maybe a little bit of settling going on, and after a not-so-good night one, being the leading scorer in a night where he still has plenty to clean up, I think that bodes well for Brayden Burries and how he will perform for the rest of the season. So, yeah, excited to be talking Brayden Burries. Excited to all you guys are here in the chat. Please drop a like on this video if you haven't done so already. Drop some Tommies in the chat, please. Just throw. I see Max throwing a lot of Tommies in the chat. Please drop some DJ Tommies in the chat. If you guys want to drop those Tommy emojis in the chat, you can become a supporting club member on our YouTube. It's just $5 a month. And you guys can show some support to your boys up here. You get to use some really cool emojis in the chat with some special perks, as well as you get a free super chat. I mean, I guess it's technically not free. It's like a $5 super chat with some added benefits as well if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, feel free to join in on the Supporters Club if you want to show us a little bit of extra support. It goes a long way in terms of helping me and Kevin. But Kevin, let's go ahead and look at some numbers from tonight before we hear from Tommy, Lloyd and company. Presented by our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Desert Financial Credit Union, Kevin, of course, the sponsors of the notable McHale North, for those of you that are unaware. But here are the numbers from tonight: 93 to 67, 57.1% field goal percentage from Arizona's standpoint, compared to 38.2 from Utah Tech. And what was his name again, Kevin? Judkins? Jim Judkins?
Yeah.
John Judkins, something like that. The 9th longest tenured coach in Division I over there on Utah Tech's sideline. A living legend.
John Judkins.
Living legend, John Judkins. Arizona shot well from 3 tonight, 46.7%. That's pretty encouraging. 40 rebounds compared to 30 for Arizona. Expect that battle to be won by the Cats pretty much all season long. 12 stocks compared to 11. Another stock battle W, although this one is way closer than it should have been. And then free throws. Didn't get to the free throw line as much as Utah Tech tonight, which is interesting. 14 of 20 did shoot 70%, though. So, yeah. Kevin, what stands out from those numbers for you?
What stood out from those numbers was the three-point number. I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier in the show. I am fully confident that Arizona is going to decrease their volume this year, but increase their efficiency. They're well on their way to doing that, shooting 2 for 5 in the first one, 7 for 15 tonight, 47% from the three. I think that is very sustainable for Arizona, especially considering the amount of paint pressure that they present teams. It's going to be very hard to guard literally everything if you're facing Arizona and not give up easy dunks for Koa Peat or Tobe Awaka as a consequence. I also wanted to mention points in the paint like we did earlier, 58-24 in favor of the Arizona Wildcats. Assists was a hefty discrepancy, Damon. 5 assists for Utah Tech in total in this game. I'm double checking to make sure that that's not an error. Yeah, 5 assists only for Utah Tech to Arizona's 24. And yeah, those are the main numbers that stood out to me in this one, were the points in the paint, the 3-point shooting, and the assists being so low for Utah Tech.
2 numbers that weren't on the graphic.
Correct. I mean, you gave them the numbers on the graphic, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper after the graphic is off the screen. That's how I look at it, because you can't put every stat.
Kevin's trying to get extra credit right now, guys. And guess what? Professor didn't offer it. But Professor
Fairall, you forgot our homework assignment. You were supposed to collect it at the end of this podcast.
Answering questions that weren't asked, Kevin. It's not extra points. But, of course, we do as well have to talk about our play of the game. We got a play of the game from tonight, Kevin. Of course, sponsored by our friends over at Arizona Lottery. Love the play. It's time to love the play, brought to you by our friends at Arizona Lottery. Play and gift today. Kevin, what was your favorite play from tonight's game? Choose one.
Ivan Karchenkov to Dwayne Aristode for 2. Do I got to get any?
Nah, you don't have to get more in the weeds. That's your
Kevin
play
ball.
of the game. Yeah, that's Kevin ball.
That was a play that Tommy Lloyd drew up for me. So, yeah, I'm all about it. That's the play that I loved the most because those are my two guys on this year's team. Damon, which play did you love the most with our friends over at Arizona Lottery?
Also, shout out our guy, Sean. Have a good night, my guy. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow on the postgame show for the Kansas game. My play of the game, man, I'm trying to think. It's hard not – like, I don't want to just be like, I like dunks. Damon like dunks. Like, and just choose dunks every time. Just like a little kid. That's all I comprehend.
Big man, jump high, slam ball. I love this sport.
No, not big man, jump high. Little man, jump very high. Jaden Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
That was an insane dunk. It's hard for me to not choose that dunk. Guy almost broke the rim like Shaq.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that was crazy. He cocked it back, tomahawk. Jaden Bradley, as you said, Kevin, it was a very like Caleb Love dunk. It felt like very Caleb Love-esque. Although Jaden did do that a couple times last year, but definitely when he gets like a head full of steam, he's so athletic that he could just he just slams it with ferocity and yeah, that was pretty sick to see. Honorable mention, Brayden Burries Euro step was pretty hard, but yeah, I'll have to go with the Jaden Bradley slam there. That was pretty sweet. That's special.
It was indeed special. You know what else is special, Damon? Our head basketball coach, Tommy Lloyd. What a special guy. One of the winningest coaches in the first half decade of running a program that ever was. But we do have some sound from one Tommy Lloyd. We talked about Brayden Burries. We talked about the freshman. This is what Tommy Lloyd has seen from his freshman, Brayden Burries, thus far this season.
Brayden is he's obviously a special player and he's a great person. And it's a joy to coach him because he wants to do right by his coach and he wants to do right by his teammates. And so sometimes you tell him something, and he takes it pretty literal. So he's just got to find that fine line between, listening to what we're saying as coaches and trying to figure out what the team needs and playing off his instincts because he's got great instincts as well. But that being said, there's also things to learn that are going to help make the game easier for him and make him more effective, which is really exciting.
Tommy Lloyd nailed it there. Brayden Burries is incredibly talented. His potential is sky high, but he's still learning the game of basketball at this level. And I think that we would all be very, very wise to give Brayden Burries some grace, give Brayden Burries some patience this year, because I think you will be rewarded with great games from Brayden Burries all year if you just give him some patience and still believe in his talent. Damon, where are you at? Are you with Coach? Where are you at?
I mean, yeah, I think that, no one knows the plan for these freshmen better than Tommy Lloyd, right? There was some criticism, and probably rightfully so, for the handling of Carter Bryant in particular last year. But this is a different crop of freshmen, and this is a team that is based around these freshmen rather than a team that was somewhat built already that added a Carter Bryant to the mix, right? Like, this is a team that is going to rely upon Koa Peat, rely upon Brayden Burries, and then to a lesser extent, rely upon an Ivan Karchenkov and a Dwayne Aristode. But in particular, those top two guys are in large part like, how Arizona is going to live and die. And so, yeah, Tommy Lloyd's got full trust in terms of development from my perspective.
Speaking of Tommy Lloyd's plan for the freshmen, this is Tommy Lloyd on what he has seen from his freshmen overall so far this year.
Maybe just a little smarter decisions. I think in the first half, we tried to make some plays in some tight windows that we probably can turn down, especially early in the shot clock. But a little bit of that just comes with some experience and, getting guys out there and figuring out what works and what doesn't work actually under the lights.
Yeah, I do love that.
Good stuff from Tommy Lloyd in regards to the freshman learning tonight. And, of course, Brayden Burries bounced back in a big way. Another guy who didn't have a not-so-great game against Florida in night one, but bounced back tonight is Anthony Dell'Orso, who, of course, is being tasked with having a bigger role on this team, expanding his game a lot, Kevin, because, he is being expected to do more than just shoot the basketball this year, right? We saw him put it on the floor tonight. We saw him take, some shots more in the paint, some mid-range jumpers, and he continues to pass the ball at an effective level. What did Tommy Lloyd have to say about Anthony Dell'Orso's performance tonight?
He's so much better. And, I think that's maybe why it's hard for him to understand why, he started last year and didn't start this year. But, the guy that I kind of flipped the starting lineup with last year, I mean, I think he's played pretty good this season. This kid, KJ Lewis, is a heck of a player. And I just felt like last year bringing him off the bench just gave us an energy that we needed. And I felt like we needed to start our games with a little bit more shooting. So that was why I made the decision last year. But, I think, the closer a lot of times was KJ. And so Delly's really made improvements to this game. And he took a lot of things to heart last year. And he's just gotten so much more, physically, able to play at this level. And so he gets credit. Rounds gets credit. J-Rock gets credit. And like, just because he's coming off the bench doesn't mean his role is going to be lessened. I think his role is going to be more than it was last year for sure.
I love him talking about KJ Lewis in that clip, because what we have mentioned with guys coming off the bench every time we have the conversation about starting, it's that, yes, we can have this conversation about who should start and who should, because we're fans and that's what we do as fans, and that's just part of the overall context. But what really matters is minutes. Minutes matter. When you get them, what you do with them. And KJ Lewis last year coming off the bench felt more comfortable impacting the game at the time in which he came in the game, getting his minutes at that moment. Apparently ADO is kind of cut from the same cloth. I don't know if, necessarily it's for the same reasons, but it does feel like ADO is improved this year. Confirmed. He's a much better basketball player, and it feels like he's being utilized properly with this Arizona basketball team. He's not being forced into the starting five just because he was in the starting five last year. He is impacting winning in these games with his shooting, with his increased defense. Honestly, with his passing and decision-making as well, he's been very good at helping the offense continue to flow. It hasn't stopped when it got to Anthony Dell'Orso, so incredibly happy with ADO and his overall performance. Damon, let's hear from the Aussie himself about his performance, and then we'll finish breaking down ADO's big night.
I didn't even know that. Maybe back in the day, I felt good. I mean, my teammates obviously found me in the right spots. We had a good stretch there of momentum, swing our way. And, as a guy that got the benefit of it tonight, I'm happy for it, but it could be anyone in that moment. When we're playing like that, anyone can get hot like that.
God, calm down, Delly. My girlfriend might be watching the stream, man. You can't just show up with the fresh fade and a nice beard and the whole thing and the muscles. I don't like how he came on that screen right there and just tried to big boy you and me. I don't like that.
Is anyone any bit baffled by him going completely clean shaven to the best beard we've ever seen in one off season?
Hey, second best beard you've ever seen.
Dog, I'm sorry. You gotta take a step back. That thing was special.
Nah, his is crazy.
That is crazy.
His is crazy.
The volume in that is
Whoa,
insane.
Basketball and football guy with a hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take, but he needs to shave the beard.
No, that's such a hot take.
It's a very hot take.
Keep it forever, Anthony Dell'Orso.
Keep it forever.
You Adonis of a man, you Greek god. That is
you Aussie Adonis.
Dude, unreal. But I mean, to what Tommy said, to what ADO said, it to me, Anthony Dell'Orso is like the perfect bench piece on a high-level college basketball team. He's going to do whatever is asked of him. He's going to make the right play. He's a high IQ player. He's being tasked with a specific role that every basketball team needs in perimeter shooting. Like, he is the perfect bench piece. He's a senior, perfect bench piece for a team like Arizona. And blessed to have him on this team. Even if he was the starter, I still would consider him like the perfect bench piece, complementary piece to your actual stars on your roster. And yeah, it feels like him expanding his game only serves to continue that process, Kevin, because yeah, his especially the passing ability, to your point. That is, I think, for me, the number one thing. Like, if he can add like really, really high level passing, making the right play with his perimeter shooting, that's going to make him into a much more difficult player to defend. But overall, of course, another win for the Cats tonight. And we will be back tomorrow for a pregame show for football, 30 minutes prior to kickoff, which I believe is 12:30. Is that right?
Sure.
Is it a 1 p.m. game?
I think
we
so.
should probably know things like this.
I thought it was at 1:30, but that's just me personally. I have basketball brain. It is at 1:30 tomorrow.
Okay, so 1 p.m. Pregame show. Be here for that. Kevin and I will be here giving you pregame and then going postgame right after the game when it comes to Kansas versus Arizona. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight and hanging out with us, being in the chat, making this show so much more fun. Of course, happy birthday to Wilbur Wildcat, as Raptor says in the chat. Wilbur. Means everything. The GOAT, Kevin, your dear close personal friend. Yeah. Of course, he's in your header on Twitter. I mean, did you tell him happy birthday? Did you text him?
Yeah, I gave him a call.
All right, yeah.
It's hard to talk to a mascot. It's hard to talk to a mascot over the phone. Not a lot of conversation the other way. I was more like, happy birthday, my Wildcat friend Wilbur. And Wilbur, it was radio silence, but I know that he was nodding profusely and giving a thumbs up and a bear down hand signal on the other end.
Maybe FaceTime him next time. Maybe FaceTime him next time.
Good call.
And of course, as Tommy Lloyd said tonight, go out there and support the football team tomorrow. Even if you can't be there, support it in terms of watching, support it in terms of our post-game coverage, because this football team does deserve that support. Coach Brennan, as Tommy Lloyd said, has a damn good football team, and he's putting a good product on the field for everybody. So hopefully Arizona gets a big W against Kansas to become bowl eligible for the first time since Jedd Fisch unfortunately left us. Will he be leaving again? Seems like it might be the case. But of course, follow me and Kevin in the meantime. I am, of course, at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. He's at KevoPost, KEVOPOSTS, and we are at PHNX_Wildcats on all socials except for TikTok. We're at AZ Wildcats Pod. That's going to do it for me and Kevin today. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. giving you pregame for Arizona versus Kansas. Make sure we'll see you there for that. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Happy birthday, Wilbur!
We all silly like the mayor.